Hello everyone, this is Gabby and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we're gonna continue our journey through the wizarding world of Harry Potter. For those who don't know, I've been rereading this series for like the 100th time and I've been making reviews for it. I have a playlist of Harry Potter. I already made the reviews for Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So I'm gonna leave the link in the corner and in the description down below if you want to check them out. A little thing before we start, I'm realizing that this video might be really long, so I'm gonna put timestamps in the description down below so you can jump around the topics that you actually care about and you just skip the ones that you don't. And today we're gonna be talking about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I have to say that I have a really soft spot for this book because two of my favorite characters are introduced here, Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. I love them. I love the Marauders as a whole. I'm one of those people who has been craving for a Marauder story for half of my life, and as I haven't got it, I've read many fanfictions about them. So I love this book because at this point the plot starts to get more intricate and dark. The tone shifts and I like that. Of course, we still get the sense of wonder that's inherent from the Harry Potter world, but we're taken into a different direction. It is also the only book where Voldemort doesn't appear, doesn't show up in any way or form. It is also the only book where we experience time travel. A thing that I used to love about this book, and this time around I didn't enjoy it so much, but we'll get to that point later. We kick off once again with Harry being abused over the summer by the Dursleys, only that this time someone worse shows up. Yes, Aunt Marge, Vernon's sister, is one of the most horrible persons in existence. She's not the worst in the series just because Umbridge exists. But she's so violent with Harry. She treats him like a slave and trash. And she wants him to be beaten at school. And one of the worst parts of this is that the Dursleys want to show off to Marge and say that they mistreat Harry even more than they actually do, which is saying something. The nice thing about this is that Marge got what she deserved when Harry turns her into a balloon that's floating over Surrey. Harry runs away, and this is kind of cute because this is a 13-year-old kid that it's really scared, not just because he's gonna be expelled from Howard for performing underage magic, but because he thinks he's a fugitive, he's gonna be on the run, and he's so worried about that, even though he did a bad thing, but it's not enough to throw you into Azkaban. And while on that, the night bus appears to take him to the Leaky Cauldron. And I love this part because in the Harry Potter world, there are a lot of things like eccentric things that just don't make sense. And the night bus is exactly that. A 3-story bus driven by a crazy man and a goofy guy as a conductor. I thought it was so much fun. It doesn't make sense. There are a lot of ways of transportation in the wizarding world. And this is not really a practical one. You have apparition, you have broomsticks, you have animals, you have flu powder, porkies, etc. And this just doesn't fit so well, but I love it. Anyway, we finally got to the wizarding world, and I just love this part because we spend time in the Leaky Cauldron, we spend a lot of time in Diagon Alley, and it's fantastic with Florian Fortescue. I just loved going to the shops and with Harry experiencing some kind of freedom from the Dursleys. I love that. Then we get on the train, and this is where the tone shifts. Because we meet the Dementors, these soul-sucking demons that get on the train because they want to make an inspection looking for Sirius Black. And in the process, they suck all the happiness out of the kids. Nice creatures, those Dementors. They are the guards of Azkaban, and the Ministry thought it was an awesome idea to place them on the school grounds. These depictions of depression are, in my opinion, one of Rowling's most brilliant ideas. The fact that they feed out of the happiness of the people, leaving them feeling cold and empty inside. I think it's really interesting. And that's why Azkaban prison is such a horrible place and all the prisoners are insane. It's also interesting to see why Sirius wasn't so affected by the Dementors, and it was because he wasn't having happy thoughts. The fact that he knew he was innocent wasn't really a happy thought for him. He was kept sane by the obsession of the knowledge that Wormtail was somewhere out there and he needed to get out to end him. Okay, but let's get back to Hogwarts. On the train we meet Remus Lupin. He's the new teacher for Defense Against the Dark Arts, and he's one of the best characters in the whole series, and you can't convince me otherwise. He is such an incredible wizard and teacher, and at the same time he's so insecure and battered because of his condition as a werewolf. There's a lot of prejudice about werewolves in the wizarding world, so Lupin's life has been tough. We know that he hasn't had a paid job in a while, and that shows in his shabby clothes and kind of sick appearance. And this is just so sad because Remus is such a kind and sweet man. He cares about his student. He cares a great deal about Harry. Of course, we know that mostly it's because of his long friendship with James, but he is amazing and he has had such a miserable life. He has been mistreated so much and he has so many regrets. We can see that when Snape made so many snide comments and mocks him openly, and Remus doesn't do anything about it because he understands Snape's grudge, which we're gonna talk about later, but he understands that and he regrets so much for not being so active as a teenager and prevent his friends from bullying Snape so much. He is such a beautiful character. He is an amazing person. And in this reread, I felt like I got to know him a little bit better than the times before. Understanding his story and knowing what's to come in later books made me feel so much more, made me hurt for him a lot. I got to understand how much pain he's been through, not just because of his condition, but because the night the Potters died, he basically lost everything and everyone. James and Lily died. Peter supposedly died as well and was killed by one of his best friends. And he thought for 12 years that Sirius betrayed them all. I mean, that's terrible. And oh, it hurts so much. And now that we're at this, let's talk about Sirius. Sirius is my all-time favorite character in the series, period. I think he's so interesting. He's such a morally gray character and I love that. I know there are a lot of mixed opinions about Sirius. There are a lot of people that hate him and it's really understandable. It's reasonable. Sirius has a really dark side to him. When he was 16, he told Snape to go through the Whomping Willow in a full moon just to get a sight of Lupin as a werewolf and scare him. I don't think that Sirius's intentions were actually for Lupin to kill Snape, but of course that Remus doesn't have a conscience when he is in a werewolf form. So of course he went for the kill. And if it wasn't for James that went to save Snape, like things would have gotten really, really bad. Sirius did a horrifying thing. He didn't think things through. He not only would have been responsible for Snape's death, but he also would have made Lupin to carry with this guilt for the rest of his life. Also, as an adult, he's kind of a loony, which is understandable. He spent
12 years of it in Azkaban!
While he was innocent, he enters the boys' dormitory in the Gryffindor Tower with a knife at the middle of the night, hoping to kill the rat. Then, at the shrieking shack, he chokes Harry and doesn't stop until Hermione kicks him. And then he starts to scream like a madman that he doesn't care about anything else than killing Peter Pettigrew without explaining anything to the kids and letting Harry, Ron, and Hermione think that he wanted to kill them. He's just plain crazy. But we also see how much in pain he is in. When we learn about the true story about the Marauders, James was his whole world, and he was killed and betrayed by one of his best friends. And Peter tricked him and made people believe that it was actually Sirius who made it. I don't know, Sirius values friendship above everything else, and I just get so emotional when he shouts at Peter that he would have died before betraying his friends. I feel for him, and even though it's kind of crazy when he asked Harry to live with him and Harry accepted like right after they tried to kill each other, I still think it was such a beautiful scene because they bonded so quickly. Oh, just so heartwarming. And when Sirius tells Harry that the ones who love us never really leave us, explicitly talking about James and how much he loved him, I just love the Marauders so much. I understand people hating Sirius, but he's my favorite. I can't help it. One of the reasons why this book is so different from the first two is because the plot is not as straightforward. We're not trying to accomplish something in particular here. In the first was finding the Philosopher's Stone. In the second was opening the Chamber of Secrets. Here, we're just trying for Harry not to get killed by Sirius, but mostly it's about hanging out at school, going to this cozy village, going to class, and learning like really amazing forms of magic like the Patronus Charm, which I think is just genius to fight despair with happy memories. It fits so well. This year things change a little bit for the kids. They can now get out of the castle some of the weekends to this cozy village nearby Hogwarts named Hogsmeade. I just love this place. And, well, everyone can go except Harry because he doesn't have assigned permission. Then we also have new classes, and of course, Hermione took all of them, thanks to the time turner that she got from McGonagall. We also meet Trelawney on Divination, who is such a joke of a character that just makes me laugh. The kids are finally having decent defense against the dark arts lessons from Lupin. I love those scenes. And Hagrid got the job of care of magical creatures, and he's so excited. I love Hagrid. He's so sweet. And in this book, my heart beats for him every second. From his nervousness and excitement about being a teacher to the panic of getting fired because Draco was attacked by an hippogriff. By the way, Draco is horrible in this book. From talking so many horrible things about Lupin's appearance to the disaster about Buckbeak. I was so happy when Hermione slapped him. And then we get the despair from Hagrid when Buckbeak is sentenced to death. Oh, and we need to talk about Snape here because there's so much more to his character in this book. First, oh my goodness, is he horrible. I mean, he's always been cruel to Harry and, well, everyone who doesn't belong in Slytherin. But this year he took it to another level. The way he treats Neville is outrageous. He not only mocks him openly, but he actually threatens to poison Trevor, Neville's toad, to teach him a lesson. He says he's going to feed the toad the potion that Neville made to see if it works, knowing exactly that he didn't do it well, and also knowing what drinking that would cause to the toad, which is getting poisoned. How is he teaching children? I mean, it speaks volumes that Neville's Bogart, it's his potion teacher. Snape is horrible. We've talked about how he treats Lupin because of his grudge. I understand that, and I even appreciate that he's making the Wolfbane's potion for Lupin every month. But he tried to expose him when he gave the students the werewolf essay, and he actually did expose him after the events in the Shrieking Shack. I just hate this guy. But this time I spotted something that I didn't see in my many rereads before. Snape hates Sirius, understandably so. But I couldn't help to notice this time that his eagerness to hand him to the Dementors didn't just come from his grudge, but by the fact that he thought that it was Sirius who actually sold Lily to Voldemort. And I thought that was so interesting. I think this video is actually getting really long, so I'm gonna do fast mentions before I get into the other part of the video. One is that Quidditch is amazing in this book. I actually felt like I was in the matches while I was reading. Then we've got Hermione slapping Malfoy. I already mentioned it, but it just mwah. As well as Hermione helping Hagrid with the backpick situation while the boys wouldn't talk to her, which was also beautiful. And it was really sad because it was the first fight that the Golden Trio had, and Hermione had so many good intentions when she told McGonagall about the firebolt. And although we feel for Hermione when Ron and her are fighting so much because of Crookshanks and Scabbers, Ron also has a point and Hermione doesn't apologize to him. And last, in my opinion, I really think Crookshanks deserve so much more credit. I mean, he was basically the one who made possible for Sirius to expose Peter. Now let's talk about the Time Turner and the time travel. And damn it, I didn't enjoy this part as much as I used to because I realized so many messed up things about it. First, Hermione tells Harry when they're going back in time that they're actually violating one of the fundamental laws of magic. And if this is such a big deal, why would the Ministry allow a 13-year-old girl to have a time turner just to get a couple extra classes? It just doesn't make sense. But alright, there are a lot of things that doesn't make sense in this world. What really bothered me was the way the time travel was handled in this book. I know it's really difficult to make right a time travel story because time travel itself just doesn't make any sense. There's always some holes and things that don't quite fit. But this one frustrated me so much and took out my enjoyment of the book a great deal. This form of time travel is a closed loop, which means that we don't make a different timeline, we just fix our own. The thing is that in the original timeline, I mean, when they are living the things for the first time, the things that happen already consider them going back in time. Does it make sense? I mean, the things that happen are already supposed to happen. So the excitement of the time travel vanishes. There were no consequences from the very beginning of the trip because that was exactly what was supposed to happen. I mean, Sirius was never in real danger because they were supposed to go back in time. And I don't know, maybe when I was reading it for the first time, I was really excited. But as I went through it again, please let me know what you think about it in the comments. I would really like to know your opinions about it. Also, I have to say that The Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite movie adaptation. And though I will never forgive Cuarón for cutting out the Marauders story, I thank him so much for how he made the time travel part because it's way more fun than in the books. In the books, we mostly just sit around and wait things to happen. And last, for the things that don't quite make sense, my best honorable mention is the fact that Fred and George had the Marauders map for a long time, and they didn't pick up that Peter Pettigrew was actually sleeping with Ron for the whole time. There's a lot of people that say that they couldn't find him because he was in his animagus form, that is a rat, but it doesn't fit. Why? Because when they were going to the Shrieking Shack and Remus was looking at the Marauders map, he spotted Peter's name in the map, even though he was Scabbers at that point. The other thing that doesn't quite make sense, but we see more of it in later books, is the part of the Fidelius charm and the secret keeper. So we know that Sirius was supposed to be the secret keeper of James and Lily, and he switched at the last moment with Peter because he thought that Voldemort would go after him. But the whole point of the secret keeper is that he has to give the information willingly to the other part to be able to find the people under the Fidelius charm. So it doesn't make sense for him to switch with Peter if he knew from the beginning that he would never betray his friends. I would like to talk more about this, but I will when I review later books because it's better explained there. So that was my review for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I loved this book. I love this series, and I know this was a long video, but I had a lot of things to say. I would love to keep chatting with you about it in the comments. Let me know what you think about this book, if you love it as much as I do, or if you don't so much, what you think about the time travel, what you think about the Marauders, Sirius, what you think about Snape, which is always a controversial topic in the fandom. Next will be, of course, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, so if you want to stay tuned for more Harry Potter videos, don't forget to ring the bell and click on the subscribe button. I will be posting on Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you guys and see you soon.